and we're on the line with my mentor and friend, Judge Andrew Dixon of Florida. You'll be able to see Judge Dixon's bio in the link provided. Thank you, Judge Dixon, for helping our members with the vital skill of networking today.
Glad to be here.
Thank you. Well, let's jump right into it. What is networking, and do law students have to network?
Yes, law students should network. It's how you initiate and cultivate relationships, and it is something that really is simply essential. It's a skill that you have to develop, and not just for your law school years, but for beyond, because it allows people to put your face with your name and vice versa, and not just for that night, but going forward. And ultimately, it's going to allow you to connect with people, find common interests that will help you down the line in terms of businesses and personal favors.
Okay, great. Thank you. Regarding networking receptions, what are some pitfalls that you see that law students make?
I would say one of them is not following up. I think it's one thing to have a solid 10-minute conversation with an attorney or a judge and then not following up with an email or letter thanking them for taking the time to speak with them. I've had law students that I've really wanted to, like to work with or mentor or just keep an eye out for, and then after the networking session, I never hear from them ever again, and it left me kind of disappointed. I think another one is going in with a set of questions but not really listening to the answer, because it makes it seem like you're just going through the motions and not really interested in learning or even connecting with the lawyer or judge that you're talking to. I've had that happen as well.
Oh, wow. Well, just a quick follow-up. When should they follow up?
I would say within, 3-4 days at the most. After that, you're going to start to, because, you get back into your routine with work and things like that, and you start to forget, who the people were that you met, especially if you're at a specific networking event where you talk to, really, 10, 20, 30 people possibly. So you want to make sure that you follow up and keep that memory fresh in the person's head.
Gotcha. Thank you. What should law students bring to a networking reception, and what should they avoid bringing to a networking reception?
Bring an open mind. Just be able to make sure that you're able to connect with the person, and having an open mind means that you're going to be willing to listen to what they have to say, that you don't already feel like everything there is about what the person is talking about. It's always good to make sure that you're receptive to what the person is talking about. If you have business cards, bring those as well. And patience. Lawyers love to talk about themselves. It's what I've always noticed. And so they will, sometimes they'll get off on a tangent, and you just want to make sure that, you're showing respect by listening to what they have to say, but that you're able to, kind of redirect the conversation the way you're hoping to. What was your other question? Oh, yeah, what should they avoid bringing? Bring in an attitude that you've already got it made or that you already know it all, because, no matter, you don't, at that point, no matter how connected that you think you are. And because, people will talk, and they'll say, well, there was this kid at this, networking reception that I met, he thought he was a know-it-all. He thought he knew everything. So, people do talk, and you don't want to have that. You don't want to put that out there. So that, you get, if you're trying to network with somebody, you try to meet with someone, further down the line, they don't already have a negative view of you.
Good point. Thanks. I've gotten questions from our members about what to discuss at networking receptions. You and I met at a networking reception, and I distinctly remember not talking anything about the law. What should law students talk about?
I like to hear about people's backgrounds. I like to hear what led them to apply to law school in the first place, how they're finding law school, what's been challenging, what's been surprising, things that have been enjoyable. And I also want to hear what their interests after graduation are. So it's not so much talking about, specific things about the law, again, to show how much you know. When you're networking with somebody, you want to get to, you're cultivating a relationship. You want the person to get to know you. So those are the type of things that, I'll ask about and try to learn about the person.
Great. So how long should the conversation with each person be?
That's something that's going to depend. It depends on how well the conversation is going. You'll, just like any conversation that you're in, you'll know when it's starting to run its course. I've had conversations with law students that have lasted just a few minutes. I've had others that lasted at least 20 minutes. There's no real set time limit. But, kind of watch for cues. If the attorney, looks like, or the judge looks like they're ready to move on, don't just keep peppering them with questions. Just, know how to, wrap it up, ask for a card or give them a card, and just kind of, it's just like it is with any conversation, and you'll realize when it's time to kind of wrap it up and maybe move on to the next person.
Right. Should our members just walk up to people they don't know and just start talking? Or should they join in on a conversation, or should they interrupt the conversation already taking place and start talking to the person that they wish to speak to?
Yeah, if they're already talking to somebody, it's not, you don't go in to interrupt the conversation. You just kind of join the conversation. Obviously the person will see you, and if they're really into networking and meeting as many people as possible, they'll say, hey, how you doing? It's not like they'll interrupt the person that interrupt the conversation that they're already in, but they'll do something or say something to kind of invite you into the conversation. And there are other attorneys that are kind of shy that do want to be approached. I've count myself as one of those. It's not always easy for me to go out and approach people, so I like it when people like law students and the potential mentees, they come up to me and hope that I might have something to say. Is that if you're in terms of joining a conversation, if there's a law student that it's good to kind of, as I said, just kind of ease yourself into the conversation and, show that you're interested in what the person's already talking about. Now, if you see like two lawyers that are talking, you kind of have to judge their body language, how intense the conversation is, how private the conversation appears to be before you want to jump in and introduce yourself. You just want to, again, you might want to kind of hover around and, hope to try and get their attention and things like that. Now, if they're interrupting conversation that's, and start talking to someone that they want to talk to, that's probably not the right thing to do.
Great. That's a good point. So what should law students avoid discussing or doing during a networking reception?
I wouldn't venture into a lot of political stuff, especially in in a state capital or big city, unless you know the background of the person that you're already approaching. I'm in Tallahassee, Florida, so that's also in a state capital. And again, unless you really know the person, it's not, you don't want to go into real hardcore political stuff. You want to keep it general. You want to keep it about their background and your background as well. I wouldn't suggest flirting with the opposite sex either. I've seen people do that, and it's really odd and awkward.
Yeah, I bet. So I think we covered this already, but what, if anything, should law students do after a networking reception?
Yeah, very much follow up. It's very important to follow up, either with a phone call or maybe with an email, if they have an email address, and then maybe later a phone call, but definitely follow up the best way you can.
Okay, great. Let's say there's somebody influential or famous present at a networking reception that everyone is eager to speak with. How should our members handle that?
And again, just be patient. Most famous people or influential people know that they're going to be the center of attention or something like that, and they really do want to try to make time for everyone that wants to speak to them. But once you do get to them, make sure you have something specific to say after introducing yourself, and that's something I still do to this day. I remember when I was, I'm a graduate of George Washington University, and one of at our Black Alumni Association reception, at one of our alumni weekends was Vincent Gray, who at that point was the Democratic nominee to become mayor of the city, and he was also a GW graduate. So again, he had numerous people waiting to speak to him. So it's kind of was just biding my time. And then once I got up to him, I specifically talked about how I was a former D.C. Government employee with the D.C. Office of Personnel, and how I recall his time when he was on the council and things to that, and it just kind of that was my segue into having a little bit of a conversation with him. So again, just make sure you have something specific to say, not that you're just up there for possibly get a photo or anything like that. That's not what you really want to do, something like that.
Yeah. So many networking receptions include alcoholic beverages. Should our members partake?
I would say no. and no matter how well you think you're able to handle your liquor, your wine, I would just avoid it. Just stick to the water, stick to the soda or whatever punch that they have, because you just leave the alcohol to the, to not say to the grown-ups, but, to the people who are already established. Because again, you're also making an impression, and, you want to make sure that that impression is as positive as you can make it. And, alcohol is just, it's a pitfall. It's a potential pitfall. No matter how much you drink or whatever, you're going to. It always eludes someone's inhibition, and you just might do something that you just normally wouldn't do. Just remember, you're in a professional setting, and you're making the best possible impression to someone who might be influential in your career down the line. So my personal recommendation would be to avoid alcohol and just stick to the water and soda.
All right, great. Well, I think that's all the time we have. Again, thank you so much, Judge Dixon, for speaking with us on the topic of networking.
I'm glad to help.
Great, thank you.
Subscribe to our new YouTube channel. It's free, Networking for Law Students, LLC. Visit our website, networkingforlawstudents.com. We're on Instagram, it's Networking for Law Students 1, and Facebook is Networking for Law Students. Be sure to check out our courses on thinkific.com. We have a new and totally free study skills course that can be used for both law school exams and the bar exam.